2. It happened in the middle of the crowded school hallway, under the glaring fluorescent lights, with hundreds of students passing by. Everyone thought she was too quiet, too timid to ever stand up for herself. That's why no one expected what happened next. Emily had been walking with her head down, her books clutched to her chest, when 3 boys cornered her near the lockers. One of them, Jake, the self-proclaimed king of the school, smirked and stepped closer. Without warning, his hand shot out and grabbed her chest. The hallway seemed to freeze. Some students gasped, others laughed nervously, and a few quickly turned away, pretending not to see. For a split second, Emily's eyes widened in shock. Memories she had buried deep began to claw their way back to the surface. Memories she had sworn she'd never revisit. But in that instant, something inside her snapped. Emily hadn't always been this quiet. There was a time years ago when she had been bold, confident, and unafraid. But life had a cruel way of stealing that from her. When she was 12, she had been walking home from school when a man followed her into an alley. He had tried to hurt her, but she had fought back with everything she had. She'd managed to escape, but the fear never left. She stopped speaking up, stopped trusting people, and moved to a new town with her family to try to start over. No one in this new school knew her past, not the trauma, not the therapy, not the countless sleepless nights. She tried to keep to herself, thinking that if she stayed invisible, she'd be safe. But bullies can smell weakness like wolves scent blood. Jake and his friends had targeted her for months, mocking her in class, stealing her notes, shoving her in the hallway. Emily had endured it all in silence. Until today, as Jake's hand touched her, Emily's mind flashed back to the alley from years ago. Her heart pounded, but this time she wasn't 12. She wasn't powerless. Without thinking, she grabbed Jake's wrist, twisted it sharply, and shoved him back so hard he slammed against the lockers. The laughter died instantly. His friends stared in shock as Jake doubled over, clutching his arm. "What's wrong?" Emily's voice was steady now, louder than anyone had ever heard it. "Don't like it when someone takes control." The hallway was silent, except for Jake's muffled groans. Teachers rushed over, demanding to know what had happened. Emily didn't flinch. She told them exactly what Jake had done, her voice firm and unwavering. Jake tried to laugh it off, saying it was just a joke. But the witnesses, finally emboldened by Emily's courage, spoke up too. One girl even recorded the incident on her phone. By the end of the day, Jake and his friends were suspended. The principal called Emily into the office, praising her for speaking up, though she knew it wasn't praise she wanted. It was justice. That night, as she sat on her bed, Emily felt a strange mix of emotions. She was still shaken, but she also felt lighter. For the first time in years, she had defended herself without hesitation. In the days that followed, students began to see her differently. Some came up to thank her for standing up to Jake. Others admitted they had been too afraid to speak out before. Emily realized that her silence had been protecting no one, not herself, and not the other girls who might have been next. Her past had taught her pain, but it had also taught her strength. She understood now that strength wasn't about never being afraid. It was about acting even when you were terrified. Months later, Emily joined the school's self-defense club. She wasn't just learning for herself anymore. She began helping other girls, teaching them how to fight back, how to say no, how to protect themselves. She became a quiet force in the school, the kind of person bullies avoided. And though she still carried the scars of her past, she no longer hid them. They were proof that she had survived, proof that she had fought her way through the darkness. The shy girl was gone. In her place stood someone unshakable, someone who would never let anyone steal her voice again. It happened in seconds. Emily was walking through the crowded hallway, her books pressed tightly against her chest when she felt it, an unwelcome hand grabbing her. Her breath caught. The chatter around her seemed to vanish, replaced by the roaring in her ears. The boy's smirk told her everything. He thought she was too timid to fight back. He thought she would freeze. He didn't know her past. Emily had been at Ridgewood High for 6 months, and in all that time, she had spoken only when she had to. She was the girl who sat at the back of the class, avoided group work, and never stayed in the cafeteria for lunch. She ate in the library, behind the fiction shelves where no one would notice her. To most, she seemed invisible. To the wrong kind of people, she seemed like a target. Jake, the school's golden boy with a mean streak, noticed her first. With his football jersey and fake charm, he was adored by teachers and feared by students. He liked making people squirm, and Emily, silent, shy Emily, was an easy source of entertainment. It started small. His friends would accidentally bump into her in the hallway, sending her books flying. They'd mock her for never making eye contact. They'd whisper behind her in class, just loud enough for her to hear. Emily swallowed it all without a word. But no one knew that silence wasn't her weakness. It was her survival strategy. 3 years earlier, Emily had been different, loud, confident, a girl who loved debate club and soccer. But one day, walking home from practice, she had been followed. The man cornered her in an alley, grabbing her arm. She'd fought back wildly, kicking, clawing, screaming, and managed to break free before things went further. She had escaped, but something inside her broke. Even in the safety of her home, she felt hunted. Crowds made her panic. Strangers made her skin crawl. Her parents moved towns, hoping for a fresh start. Emily promised herself she'd never attract attention again. But predators didn't always lurk in alleys. Sometimes, they stood right in front of you in the school hallway. It was a Friday morning. The bell had just rung, and the hallway was chaos. Emily was heading to her locker when she saw Jake and his 2 friends leaning against it, blocking her way. "Hey, Shay girl," Jake grinned, stepping closer. Emily clutched her books tighter. "Excuse me," she murmured. "Oh, don't be like that," he said, his tone dripping mockery. Then, in one quick movement, his hand shot out and grabbed her chest. The world slowed, her vision tunneled. For a split second, she was back in that alley. The same rush of fear surged through her veins, but this time she wasn't frozen 12-year-old Emily. She was 17. And she had learned something from that day in the alley. The only thing worse than being hurt was letting someone think they could own you. She dropped her books, grabbed Jake's wrist, and twisted it sharply. The sound of his yelp sliced through the hallway noise. She shoved him hard into the lockers, the metal rattling. Gasps filled the air. "What's wrong, Jake?" Her voice was steady now, ringing clear in the silence. Not so funny when someone fights back. Teachers rushed over. Jake, red-faced, tried to laugh it off, muttering that it was just a joke. But witnesses were already speaking up, especially when one girl pulled out her phone and showed the video she'd captured. By lunch, the incident was all over the school. Jake and his friends were called to the principal's office. By the end of the day, they were suspended for harassment. Emily sat in the principal's office too, half expecting trouble. But instead, the principal praised her for defending herself and thanked her for having the courage to speak up. For the first time in years, Emily didn't shrink from attention. She stood tall. The days that followed were strange. People who had ignored her now nodded at her in the hall. Girls she didn't even know whispered, "Thank you," as they passed. And Emily realized something. Her silence hadn't been protecting her. It had been protecting the bullies. She decided she was done being invisible. She joined the school's self-defense club, not just to get stronger, but to help other girls find the confidence to fight back. Slowly, she became a mentor. She taught them how to break free from a grab, how to use their voice to draw attention, how to stand their ground. And though she still carried the memories of that alley, they no longer chained her. They fueled her. The shy girl was gone. In her place stood someone who knew her worth, someone who understood that fear didn't define her. How she responded to it did. Her story spread, not just through the school, but in whispered conversations where girls told each other, "If Emily can fight back, so can we." Because courage isn't the absence of fear, it's standing tall even when your hands shake. And Emily, once the quietest girl in school, had become the loudest reminder that no one had the right to take your voice or your dignity.